Have you ever seriously, and I mean seriously, asked yourself if you could stop working in just 10 years? Not 30, not 40, but a single decade? It sounds like a total fantasy, right? Well, today, we're not going to treat it like a fantasy. We're going to treat it like a math problem, and we're going to find the answer. So, this is it. This is the big question. How much does it actually take, month after month, to pull this off? Most of us just assume the number is so huge it's not even worth thinking about. But what if you knew the exact figure? What if you had a real target to aim for?
And here's the good news. This isn't some secret handshake stuff from Wall Street. It's just math. The real question isn't if it can be done. It's whether you're willing to really look at the numbers, understand the trade-offs, and then find the discipline to actually see it through. Okay, so let's start by defining what we even mean by retirement or financial freedom. Before we can figure out the how, we need to get crystal clear on the what. We need a concrete goal. So for our purposes, let's set a target. Let's imagine building a system that pays you $3,000 a month. That's $36,000 a year, coming in whether you show up to work or not. Now, you might not be buying private jets with that, but you would be incredibly rich in what really matters: your time, your freedom, your control. And that is our goal. So how do we get there? Well, the engine that powers this entire journey is compounding. Seriously, think of it like planting a tree. For the first few years, it feels like nothing is happening, right? It's small, it's fragile, but if you just keep at it, you eventually wake up one day and realize that tree is an absolute giant, producing more fruit than you know what to do with. That's what your money does when you give it time to grow. But here's where so many people get tripped up. And it's a really crucial mistake. They see an investment's advertised return and just assume that's the money that's going to land in their pocket. If only it were that simple. You'll see an investment fund that says it returns, say, 8% a year, and that looks fantastic on a chart. But in the real world, there are a few silent partners that take their cut before you ever see a dime. And look at how this actually plays out. You start with that big blue bar, your advertised 8% return. But then inflation quietly eats away at your buying power. Then you've got taxes, and of course management fees. And by the time they're done, that return shrinks all the way down to this final bar, a real, actual, spendable return of just 3.5%. That's less than half of what you thought you were getting. That gap between the advertised number and the real number, that is everything. Over 10 years, that's the difference between hitting your goal and falling tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars short. We absolutely have to plan using the real number. All right, we've set the stage. We know our target. We understand how real returns work. And now it's time to face the numbers. This part might be a little uncomfortable, but stick with me. So how do we find our final portfolio number? It's actually pretty straightforward. As you can see, we start with our $3,000 monthly target, which comes out to $36,000 a year. Then we apply something called the 4% rule. It's a popular guideline that says you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio's value each year in retirement, and it should last. And that little rule, well, it tells us exactly how big our nest egg needs to be. And there it is, $900,000. To safely generate that $36,000 a year, that's the size of the portfolio you need to build. And I get it. For a lot of us, that number just sounds like an impossible mountain to climb, especially in only 10 years. But hold on, don't panic. This is where our steady, consistent contributions and the magic of compounding really start to do the heavy lifting for us. So let's get to the number you've been waiting for. To get to $900,000 in 10 years, assuming a 7% real return, you would need to invest about $5,500 every single month. I know, for most people hearing that, it feels completely out of reach. And honestly, this is the exact moment where the dream usually dies. But please, don't stop here. Because hearing that number isn't the end of the story. It is the beginning of the strategy. You see, you have these incredibly powerful levers that you can pull to make this goal not just possible, but probable. Now look at this table. This is where you get your power back. That first row, that's our original plan. But just watch what happens if you can design a life that only costs you $2,000 a month. Suddenly, your total goal drops to $600,000, and that required monthly investment, it shrinks to about $3,700. What if you go even leaner, down to $1,500 a month? Now you only need to invest $2,700. All of a sudden, the impossible starts to feel, well, kind of possible. So it really boils down to two main levers you can pull. The first,
And honestly, the fastest is to just reduce your expenses. The less you need to live on, the smaller your mountain is to climb. Simple as that. The second lever is to actively, aggressively grow your income over the next 10 years. You build new skills, you get a better job, you start a side business. Then that monthly investment number doesn't feel like a prison sentence, it feels like a choice.
But let's be real for a second. Knowing the math is one thing. Actually sticking with a plan like this for 10 straight years, that's a whole different ballgame. This isn't just a numbers game.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of the entire challenge. Anybody with a calculator can do this math. But sticking to the plan when life gets crazy, when the stock market is crashing, when you're tempted to buy that shiny new thing, that's where most people fail. So what's the secret weapon? What's the hack? It's automation. Don't rely on your own motivation or willpower, because trust me, they are exhaustible. Instead, you build a system. You set up automatic transfers from your paycheck that go directly into your investment accounts before you can even touch the money. You see, the system doesn't get scared. It doesn't get tempted. It just does the work. When you really internalize this idea, your entire relationship with money just shifts. Every spending decision becomes a really simple question. Is this purchase moving me closer to my freedom, or is it moving me further away from it? So this is the final thought I want to leave you with. The numbers we calculated today, they're just targets. Maybe you can't hit them exactly. Maybe it takes you 12 years or 15. But the process is what matters. The journey starts with that first dollar you automate and invest. Because 10 years from now, you're going to look back, and the only thing that will truly matter is that you started.